I'm Randy Rohde, and I'm fascinated with entrepreneurs and small business owners. Plus, I love baseball. Every show, I sit down with a small business owner, and we discuss their running the bases of entrepreneurship. We throw the ball around on strategy, management, execution, and innovation. Plus, a little fun baseball talk. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Settle in, grab your Cracker Jacks, and you know what they say.
Play ball.
And it's a great day for a ball game. And, today really is going to be fun because we are doing the Random Show. And as we have in the past, the Random Show is generally a guest that we've had on in the past. And because we had so much fun with them to begin with, we thought we would have them back and just talk about anything, I guess, and hence the Random Show. I should go on and continue to introduce. So Kyle Roof is back with us, and just to give you a little insight, I don't have one of our great introductions written out in regards to Kyle. I think it was probably about a year ago, actually, when Kyle was on the show, or when we released the show anyway. A little background with Kyle. He's the founder at High Voltage SEO, Page Optimizer Pro, and Internet Marketing Gold, or IMG. He's also a recovering attorney, which is good that he's found the light. And I don't know, he's got all kinds of fun stuff going on. Kyle, I don't even know where in the world. Where are you? Where in the world is Kyle today? So you travel a lot. Are you back in residence in Chiang Mai? Where are you?
That's right. I am home. I am in Chiang Mai, but tomorrow I fly to Bali.
Oh, nice.
I speak at a conference in a couple days over there.
And
I just came back from Malta. I was in
Malta.
Malta for about 5 days, just a few days ago.
Oh, that's right. I did see, I think, pictures of you and Craig, our friend Craig Campbell over in Malta. That's right.
It's actually a lot of fun with the world opening up again.
Yeah.
As I do a lot of public speaking, and it's kind of nice to be able to do it in person now and kind of fly around. That was kind of part of the job, or a big part of my job in 2019, and then it kind of went away for a couple of years.
Yeah, so you're going to be busy.
It's come back. Yeah, it's good.
How is that?
I just saw you in Nashville not that long ago.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so that was fun. So I am kind of curious. So I know you have a young son. What is he now? 4 or 5?
He's actually about to turn 8. He's 7 going on 8.
Jeez. How is that? So you were saying you were traveling in 19, so he was young. Maybe he was aware that you were traveling or gone, probably to a degree. Now that you're kicking up, how is that impactful, like at the family life? Is it?
He literally does not care about anything. Like I'll show him a video, like I'm on YouTube. I'm like, hey, buddy, look, this YouTube video I'm on just got 2,000 views. He's like, who cares? I'm watching this guy that's got 1 million views, dude. And I was like, but no, it's 2,000 people that I don't know are talking about. He's like, yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah. So
he doesn't care.
When you're traveling, are you gone for like, I know when you go to some of these conferences, you're there like 3-4 days or whatever, and then you got to travel because you're like way over on the other side of the world from where we are. So if you're coming over to this side of the world, that's a bit of a travel. So you kind of foresee your travel like being, like days and days coming up here in 23, like weeks of travel and being gone out of the house.
Yeah, that does happen. Like on this last trip in Malta, I was there for a few days, and then I went right to Phuket for another conference, and I was there for about 4 days. So I was gone for about 2 weeks and some change on that one. This particular one, I'm going to Bali. The family is coming. So I actually asked my wife, I was like, do you want to go to Malta? And she's like, meh. And I was like, do you want to go to Bali? And she's like, yay. So the family's coming on the Bali one. My next trip after that is Singapore. And then I'm trying to work out what hasn't happened yet. I'm trying to get to Africa for a conference.
Oh, nice.
And Kenya.
Nice.
But that hasn't locked in yet. But then next year I've got 4 or 5 already booked, and yeah, we'll see how they go.
Oh, I love it. One of my friends here locally, he just threw at me just over the weekend that he and his family, they're during the holiday break, they're going to go to Cape Town. go to South Africa. I'm like, for a week. I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome.
Very cool.
That's a place I had never, when I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. But it would never be like top of mind as like a place to go. I don't know why. I'm always like, hey, let's go plan a family trip. I'm always thinking like, I want to go to Europe. I love going to Europe, but like Cape Town sounds really cool. Have you ever been there? I don't know why. You just threw out Africa and it kind of, dinged the bell for
I haven't, but to your point, that's exactly right. Like Malta was never really on my list, my top 10 bucket list of places I needed to go, but it was beautiful and I had a great time. And now I'm kicking around actually opening up a business there so I can get residency.
I know really Craig was passing around. Yeah, Craig was passing around some pictures of Malta, and I'm like, wow, that is really beautiful. Nice. Another one of the places I'd never thought of and about hitting before. So you're over there in Chiang Mai. So we just celebrated Thanksgiving here. I hate to date podcast, but so we just celebrated, and in my mind, I was thinking about over in Chiang Mai. So you're a Westerner, grew up in California, I recall. Do you celebrate like some of the traditional Western holidays with your family? Because I know your wife is also Western. So did you celebrate Thanksgiving?
We did. But it's very rude. They don't take the day off. So my son had to go to school. I didn't get a day off of work. That's not how it works over here. But we do a couple things. One is there are a couple American style restaurants, and they will do a Thanksgiving type like lunch or dinner, kind of starting about 1 in the afternoon, going till maybe into the evening, and they kind of have different seating, so you can kind of get in some turkey and some stuffing and sweet potato and stuff like that. And then we always do like a Friendsgiving type deal with nice. With other friends that are Americans or American sympathizers, and kind of bring them in and do it on a Saturday, and kind of then do kind of a get your Americana in and do a Thanksgiving. For me personally, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. And it is one of the things I miss the most is going to like a relative's home and doing like a big meal and seeing everybody. That is, when you think about living overseas where I live, is tremendous, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But Thanksgiving is kind of one of those things when you feel a little nostalgic and you do kind of miss it a little bit.
Well, I was kind of wondering because so you've been over there, I can't remember, but a number of years though.
2 years now, yeah.
Yeah. And I've always wondered if you're an expat and you're overseas for a number of years, do you begin to lose now, kind of focus or connection to some of the holidays that we would celebrate here in America? And, aside from religious holidays and if some of those are significant, those I would see holding on to. But like Thanksgiving is not a religious holiday. There's, it is a very American holiday. And in our culture, obviously everything is like, hey, it's Thanksgiving. We got the parade. We got the turkey. We got football. Everything is going on. And I was wondering about that. If you would still like, oh yes, in Chiang Mai, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving.
Well, we do. Like, and we do hold on to that.
Yeah.
And I get to watch all the football games too, just one day later. Then you get to watch them. But, the one thing I do think about is my son, as he is 7 going on 8 next month, is that he will not have quite the same experience or quite the same connection to those holidays. And my wife and I are American, and we're very happy to be American. We hang on to American culture and all that, but it will be interesting for my son, as we really have no intention of living back in the U.S. We would like to get him through school here, being an American outside of America, where his ideas on holidays and specific American traditions, that's interesting to me. And I wonder, like, am I cheating him out of something? Does that matter? Does that matter at all? Does that make you American to want to celebrate these types of holidays? Or
that really is actually is an interesting conversation or thought anyway, because I think about our traditions, and especially Thanksgiving is just a ton of different traditions that we embrace in our family. And we always host the big Thanksgiving dinner for the family. And the day after that Friday, we always go out and go get our Christmas tree. We go out and we cut it down. That kind of ushers in the Christmas season for us as well. And we set it up then on Saturday and decorate. So like with that, I'm like, there's some of those traditions that I would think would be a little difficult to employ in Chiang Mai, but yeah, the traditions. So I don't know. You guys will just have to build your own traditions, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, create those memories.
2 years ago for Thanksgiving, I have a really great picture. So getting a turkey is a little tricky. Last year we were able to get a turkey, but it turns out with supply chain, there's a turkey shortage in Asia, believe it or not. There actually aren't as many turkeys as they normally import, so we really couldn't get one this year. But last year we got one. But 2 years ago we went and they do this kind of barbecue chicken deal where they take the chicken and they put 2 rods in it and they kind of like rotisserie kind of roast it. And my son and I had a great time going and getting our turkey, which was like 8 of these little chickens, kind of bringing them back. And to be honest, that was more fun than anything, going and getting a turkey from Safeway, or whatever. Yeah, that was just a lot of fun. So he and I got our Thanksgiving turkey, which was just 8 small chickens. That was a good time. So as you said, you kind of create your own traditions.
Well,
we'll keep it alive.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And so where you live in Chiang Mai, I think is a place that I would love to go to. And I know there's a conference that our friend Matt Diggity and company are going to be pulling, not in 23. I think it's in 24. Is that right? Or
no,
is he doing
23.
He is doing it in 23 in November, right? Of 23.
I shall be, I think, hosting one of the days, like one of the pre-conference days. I'm putting on a little thing, so it's not set in stone yet. But
nice.
There'll be the come and see the pre-conference day,
nice,
which is really the best part of the conference. So you should probably come for that.
Is this like an official invite?
You should come. You should come. You should do it. Do you want to talk? Let's talk about you talking.
See, this is good because then if I can tell my wife, listen, I got an official invite and I've got to go.
I gotta go. What am I supposed to do?
What am I going to do? Right?
Be rude.
Yeah.
Be rude.
Well, I would love to get over there. And I think it would just be incredible and just to experience. And I think every time you and I get together, I always ask you questions about life in Thailand. And there's so many aspects of it as, aside from just the daily, I know it's relative to the States, inexpensive to live there and the things that you can do and afford and enjoy because of that. But there's so many other things. I was just looking and thinking about just political and kind of in the world that we live in today. And that, here we've got this tension building with China. And I'm wondering you're a lot closer to China than we are, and with Taiwan and all of that. I'm like, do you guys get a sense of any of that? Is there any of that kind of tension, like the political geo turmoil that's going on in your world there?
The best part about living here is there's an off button. You can push the off button, and it goes away.
Nice.
And you don't have to worry about it, and your stress level will go down tremendously.
Yeah. I like that.
I highly recommend it.
That is nice. Yeah. So I guess I'm reading into it as well, is that, there in Chiang Mai and in Thailand, you're kind of like, people are just going on their way.
You can get fired up about it if you want to get fired up about it. And people certainly do. And people want to talk about this, that, or the other. But what is super nice about this is there is a certain level of perspective and there's a certain level of turn it off.
Yeah.
Really, what's feeding most of it is nonsense, and you can turn off the nonsense. But if you want that nonsense, right, go for it, enjoy it. But you can actually turn it off, and life is pretty good when you're not thinking about it.
I love that. I love to turn off the nonsense. All right, so we did catch up more recently, just last month, I think it was, in Nashville. There's so much that I wanted to ask you and kind of bring up to dig in a little bit deeper of some of our conversations that we had in Nashville. But one of the things, you did a presentation. I want to spend more time on the presentation that you did there. But I want to pull out one thing because it actually drove me to some action, and I went and picked this thing up. I've only read about the first, 20 or 30 pages of it, but this was a book by Scott Galloway called The Algebra of Happiness. And you mentioned it in the presentation that you were giving, and I wanted to get your thoughts a little bit more about it. Now, for the listeners, it's called The Algebra of Happiness. It's a perspective on our need for both professional success and personal fulfillment, meaning what's the formula for a life well lived. And I was so intrigued by it. Literally, I think I ordered the book from Amazon as you were giving your presentation, because I'm always looking for good books to make me think a little bit. So how did you stumble across that and your perspective? You've read the whole thing. I'm only, and this is just because I've got about 8 books on my nightstand that I'm reading. So I read let me read this one. Let me read this. Anyway, so Algebra of Happiness, according to Kyle.
Let me preface this by saying I hate self-help books, and I particularly hate business self-help books. I read none of them. If I read it, it's really because I just really had to. But this one I read because I saw him speak. It was a little kind of semi-presentation, semi-interview type thing. And when I realized it was actually the first chapter of the book is really what he was speaking on. But one important point about the book is that it's meant for people that want to make a lot of money. If you are looking to live the life of a cloistered nun, this is probably not the book for you. This is meant for people that are intentionally trying to make a lot of money, and also looking to how in that pursuit, how you can also be happy at the same time. Because there is the idea that money doesn't buy happiness, which he actually discusses in the book. And I think he makes a fair point that that's really not the most accurate statement. You can certainly, a certain amount of money does make you happy.
Yes.
Maybe there's a plateau at some point, but one of my most favorite quotes of all time is Gertrude Stein, and she said, "I've been rich and I've been poor, and I can tell you it's better to be rich."
Yes, I love that one. Yeah,
and it's true. I personally, I've been rich and I've been poor, and I can tell you it's better. It's better to be rich.
Yes, I've thrown that quote out several times. Actually, I just did that to my son even somewhat recently, and I'm like, and believe me, it is much nicer.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I like things.
Yes.
I like flying business class. Yeah. It's a thing. But so this book is really meant for the idea of if you want to pursue becoming wealthy, wealthy. At the same time, how can you also then have fulfillment in that life and kind of talk about things like that. But the biggest thing that I loved from that book and why I actually bought it was he had this line, and this is a paraphrase, but he basically said, if somebody tells you to follow their passion, just tell them to shut up because they're already rich. And he said what they're doing is basically they're reinventing how they got rich. And they're trying to say that it was they just followed their passion, and then they instantly became rich. And he's like, there are people like Jay-Z that certainly, I'm sure he followed his passion,
right?
For sure. But for one Jay-Z, there are 10,000 people that didn't do it. But what he said is, and this really hit home, is that your job is to find something that you're good at, that people will pay you well to do.
Right.
And then your job is to become great at it. And in the process of becoming great, it will become your passion. You will then like the people that you meet. You will like the environment. You'll like talking about it. You'll like learning it. So it's in that process of going from good to great is when it becomes your passion. And that's okay. That's great that it is your passion, but it's not the first step. People want to say just follow your passion and then you'll be successful, or you'll never work a day in your life. And that's complete garbage. I do something that I love and I work a lot, I work a lot at it and I love it, but it's not, and it has become my passion. I'm very passionate about the work that I do and I like it a lot. And I like the opportunity that I have to speak to people. I like the opportunity to meet people such as yourself. I have a great time every time I talk to you. And I wouldn't have that opportunity, but for process of becoming great in this thing. And that has given me this opportunity. It wouldn't have existed otherwise. We never would have met.
Right.
So, but it's not that first part of just follow your passion. When I was in university, there was no SEO.
Right.
There was no Google.
Right.
How could I follow my passion and become the person that I was today?
Yeah. Well,
it not possible.
And I if somebody were to say to me, and when, so much of conversation, and I'm sure, in 10 years from now, when your son is 17 going on 18, all of a sudden your perspective on other things become what do I tell my son, right? How do I keep, when you're having this conversation about passion. And I think, if I were like 18 or 20, 25 and somebody said, well, go follow your passion. And that's what it would be a little paralyzing, I think, for me, because I'd be like, well, I don't know what the hell my passion is.
What is my passion? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, how do I define passion? What does that mean? And then I'd probably go down a rabbit hole of like, there must be something wrong with me because I don't know what my passion is. Right.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. It's the same thing like you only have one soulmate and you have to find them. How paralyzing is that? That kind of concept that there's only one person out there that is right for you. And if you don't find them, somehow your life, so you're just going to be questioning yourself your entire life. Is this my soulmate?
Yeah.
Is this the right choice?
Yeah.
And you're going to live a miserable life.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing too. Follow your path. These types of advice, are absolutely miserable pieces of advice. But they're so easy to say, and everybody kind of says it, and people who are rich and famous and happy, they all say it. But it's really they're just reinventing kind of how they got to the point that they're at because they want to believe that it was some mystical or magical thing that kind of guided them to like where they're at today.
I wonder if it's a conspiracy, like an inner club conspiracy, like let's tell them follow their passion and then they'll keep them out of the club.
In the hopes that they do and fail.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Because then
they'll stay out of the club.
The rich get richer and they hang on to what they got, right? No, just follow your passion. You'll do fine.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I kind of like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So following your passion.
But anyway, that actually back to your original question, that's what kind of got me into the book, and that kind of got me in like, I think this guy has something to say. One other thing that he mentioned that I thought was really wise was person, like one of the, perhaps the number one or one of the number one indicators of if you will be wealthy is the person that you marry or the person that you are together with, because they have to have the same vision.
Yeah.
Right. They can keep you in check, my wife keeps me in check in a very good way because I can get out there, but she has to be on board. These jobs that we have are really weird. Like my mother still has no idea what I do. And honestly, like I look at the money coming in and I don't really know where it comes from sometimes. I'm like, why is this money in my bank account? I don't quite, it's a bizarre situation. And so you have to have somebody that is completely on your side and sees that vision and can then push you in that right direction, keep you within that. But we're in the wild west of an industry where there's no regulation, there's no bar to entry. Simply, you have to be the one to want to go and do it, and that is it.
Right.
And then you can hang your shingle as an expert. This is one of those times in history where you can be the best at something. When does that happen?
Right.
You can write your name. You can invent something. When does that happen? Yeah. Randy can actually invent a thing and people can actually use it. That exists right now. That does not exist any point in history. Very few times where you didn't go to school for it. You don't have any special training or any special certifications. This is now the time. So having to make money or try to make money in this environment, you need somebody that's on your team that understands that vision and can kind of push you in that right direction. And so as a massive indicator of if you're going to be wealthy or not is the person that you are with. And they have to have that same type of vision. Then now they can rein you in. And my wife does a great job of doing that. And also it really doesn't even have to be a sexual partner. It can just be somebody in your life that you can be completely vulnerable with,
right?
That you can share those things with and kind of go in that same direction and say like, yeah, that's the right direction that you need to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is a huge indicator of whether or not you're going to be successful or not.
Yeah. My wife always says, if she's making a commentary on somebody's other, but the way she phrases it, and it really is this exact same concept though, is that, yeah, she ups my game is what she tells me. And she's like, I think I push you to be better. She's very, she's very confident in herself, but she's absolutely right. And I think it goes hand in hand with what you're saying is I think,
in my case, mine knocks me down a peg. every time I think my head is getting so big, I start to list to one side. Like she's like, maybe we should bring this one down.
Just peg it down. Well, that's probably true on my side.
It's very helpful.
But it's great advice. So anyway, folks, if you want to go look for a book, Scott Galloway, and I can't remember his full CV, but I know he's a professor. Is he at Stanford or Harvard or some Cornell?
He's at NYU, and he teaches in their master's program for their MBA program.
There we go.
And then actually this book, as I understand it, is like the last class that he teaches.
Yeah,
so he goes through his whole class, and then this book is actually the things they talk about in that final.
Yeah, and if I remember reading from what the bit that I have read in the book the book is the culmination or the summary of the 3-hour presentation of his last class. And Algebra of Happiness. Anyway, go check it out. So as you have been pursuing things, when we hooked up in Nashville, you were all kind of giddy, and because you had just sold your agency, HVSEO, and you were coming back. The whole story around it was like amazing to me of how you constructed this transaction and where you did it and all of this, because it involves Jamaica. And I'm like, wow, what? I share with us what you feel comfortable in, but I do have a few questions in regards to selling the agency, selling your business.
So when my business partner and I formed the agency, I think we officially formed in 2014. But we built with the idea that we will sell. I never wanted this to be my forever job in terms of being an agency owner. I never thought like I'm just going to build up this agency and I'm going to run it and I'm going to die. Like that wasn't the plan. The plan was let's build up something that we can actually sell. And that's a little ambitious because agencies are not easy to sell. Like not too many people, because usually with an agency, you're just buying somebody's book. Their book of clients, and nobody wants to do that. So you have to have other things that people would like to buy. And so we built with the idea of selling. And then I think in the last 3 years, and this comes from Andy, I can't take any credit for it at all, was really he had this mantra of when we're making a business decision, does this get us closer to a sale? Is this something that someone would like to see if they're trying to buy us? And if the answer was no to either of those questions, then we just didn't do it. And I honestly didn't think that we would be able to sell, but I thought in this exercise, we're just going to become a better company. We're going to become something that will make more money, will be more productive, will have better output, will get more clients. And I just thought all these are just good business decisions to run the business this way. When you think about like selling your house, you deal with the leaky faucet and you deal with the squeaky door, right? But when you have to sell it, you have to get those things fixed. And then your life becomes better if you actually get them fixed, right? You actually have a better house to live in. And so I just kind of thought that's the metaphor that we're living in right now, that we're just going to do this and we're going to have a better business. But then we listed with a broker. We worked with them for a few months to kind of present the books in a way that a buyer would like to see, and a couple other things, and kind of were able to restructure. And then we listed, we got offers. That blew my mind. I was like, we have actual offers, like people are serious. And then it's one company that out of Jamaica, they're a web design and development company, and they're looking for an SEO firm or wing, if you will. And they wanted to bolt on to make themselves bigger. And they also wanted a foothold within the United States and within Europe, which we have a very strong foothold because that's where the majority of our clients come from. And they made a great offer, and there was a lot of negotiation. It took a lot of time, but that's business. Yeah. And in the end, they bought us, and it was great.
Wow.
Really great.
Yeah, really great.
It was super validating. It's one thing to have a valuation, right?
Right.
Your business is worth X. It is a whole other thing when somebody writes that check. A whole other thing. And that was super validating when somebody says, we think your company's worth this much and we want it, and we want to pay you this amount.
Yeah.
And they stroked the check. And that was super, super validating on something that we built from scratch.
Yeah.
Initially it was myself, Andy, and my VA, Maria. Maria actually, at the end, she owned 10% of the agency. She owns 30% of the software. She's got about 10% of the community.
Yeah.
But she started off, I think I was paying her about $3 an hour to start as employee number one.
Good for her.
She's kind of grown with this.
Man, you treated her nice too. Very well.
She treated me nice. She's been amazing.
Well done. So out of curiosity, so many of our listeners I know are small business owners, and ideally I'm guessing as many people like, I'd like to build this and sell it. I love your approach, and I think you mentioned this probably back to this presentation we're going to talk more about as well, which is kind of build it, and you mentioned it just now, even build it with the end goal in mind. And I think that is great advice in thinking about that process. What are the obstacles? And not just, obviously, you're building a digital marketing agency, but just in the mindset, I think, of a small business owner. What were some of the obstacles that you guys faced when you're kind of with that, here's our end goal. This is what we want to do. But where were some of those obstacles, I guess, maybe that kind of either kind of presented themselves to derail you from that or sidetracked you? Or
the biggest thing is you can't be involved in the sales. Like you can't be involved in the sales process. You can, maybe they come to you, they see your face, but when it comes in and they are going to use your product or your services, you can't be the one selling them. Because if that's the case, then nobody wants to buy it, because as soon as you go, sales are gone.
right.
So you have to have a sales funnel that doesn't include you. You also need to remove yourself from the decisions in operations. So you have to get to yourself to the point that you are giving the vision, and maybe ultimately you're making some final decisions. But there's the vision, and you have to set up a leadership team. So we were able to set up a leadership team. We have our US manager, our European manager, and then our head of technology. And those three women ran the company. And so myself and my business partner, Andy, it was more our vision and what we were looking to do. And then when it came to the implementation of that vision, that was on them. And so, because the idea is that somebody who's going to buy your company, they want it to be turnkey. They don't want to have to figure out how to be, in our case, they don't want to have to figure out how to be an SEO expert. They don't want to be an expert in whatever the business is. What they want to come in is be able to impact the vision, but not the day-to-day, not the sales, not the product development. Like all that should be in place where that can happen on its own. So essentially you could walk away from the business for 6 months and it's still going to grow. It's not just going to maintain, but it's going to grow. And that's where you need to be, where you could actually walk away. Business is still good. And then you have an actual business and not just a well-paying hobby.
Right.
And you have something that somebody would like to acquire at that point.
I would imagine, and I know I'd fight that aspect myself. I'm probably much more involved in the business than what I should be. But I would imagine that's a challenge for all small business owners. I mean, we dig in, we're thinking about payroll, we're thinking about margins, right? Keeping this thing alive, especially coming out of the last couple of years with the pandemic and the struggles, challenges with that. That's got to be a big challenge, I think. I can tell you that mindset.
A big thing for us was actually to be able to pay ourselves a salary, where I got a salary every month, and then we did quarterly distributions. But the idea is, in our case, if we gained a client or lost a client, my salary didn't move, and we had enough runway where we could actually lose all of our clients and we could still pay everybody for 6 months.
Wow. Nice.
So we got to this level of maturity where I'm going to get a salary.
Yeah.
And that allows you to make a lot of freeing decisions on, should we take this client on? Should we make this business decision? Because my pay was not dependent upon that decision. It freed us up to make just better business decisions. So getting to the point where you can pay yourself a salary and then you can do distributions off of profit, that gets yourself into, and there are kind of like these levels of legitimacy as you're growing your own small business, right? And one of them was, I get paid a salary now. That was a huge thing for my business partner and I, where we know we're just going to make this every month. And then quarterly, we'll take a percentage of profit. And one other thing we did too is that, let's say we've got random number, $100,000 worth of profit. What we do is we take $50,000 that would stay in the business, and $50,000 would then be distributed. And so I go to myself, my business partner. But then with our leadership team, you want people to have skin in the game. So we started giving out revenue shares. So they're not necessarily owners, but they will get a share of revenue off of profit. So if they work harder, if they do better for your company, they know that they're going to benefit from that. They have skin in the game, and it makes sense for them to, because nobody's going to love your business as much as you do.
Right.
And nor should they. Like, that's not their job to love your business as much, but you want them to have as much ownership as possible. So they're going to be making the best decisions possible. And so letting them share within the profits was also a big step. But to kind of your earlier point, one of the harder things is that's giving up money. I could have made more money. If I wasn't giving shares to other people, I would have more cash in my pocket right now in the short term.
Right. I was just going to say,
not in the long term.
Right. It's not getting you to your end goal, because you're very mature. You recognize that people on your team are going to are the ones that are going to help you get you to your end goal. So being short term is not good. So a couple of things I want to ask and dig in a little bit. So you had a great phrase. You called it the levels of validity, I think is how you coined that term. And I do believe that. And I think that that those levels and that runway is probably different for different business models or different niches of business. But Because obviously starting your business and then turn around and then selling it, that's not like, oh, that's a 6-month process, right? Or, getting to this point where you're no longer part of the business, only in kind of in the directional or the vision and strategy kind of end of that. That just doesn't happen after 6 months in business always. Maybe in some it does, but
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But from your perspective, though, because you've been involved in a lot of different businesses, and what do you think is, and if it's even possible to frame it that way, thinking about these different levels of validity, like even just to get to the one where you were saying, hey, when we got to the point where we could comfortably pay ourselves a monthly salary, what do you think that runway is? Is that a 6 month? Is that a 1 year? Because I'm sure we have listeners, and I've had businesses that we've started as well. Like, I don't know, I can't really pay. We're just running off of our overflow that we had personally to help fund, so I can just keep pushing the money back into the business just to grow it.
Oh, for sure. I remember month number 2 in the agency, and it was like, so are we making money? Like,
yeah.
like, what's the plan here? Is this, are we gonna? Well, I don't know where this money is coming from.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, I think the pinnacle is, and this actually was in my talk in Nashville, it's the position of FU, and the idea is
I love
that you
that.
can turn down money.
Yeah.
That's the pinnacle, when you can turn down money. You see the red flags with somebody, or you see something that's problematic and you don't need the money.
Yeah.
They offer you money and you can say no is big. But I'll tell you one other thing that's the next level up is that you take the money and they are the red flag that you thought they were. You can do all the work and you can give the money back.
Oh, yes.
Then you made it. And the important point here is that it's not a wealth situation.
Mm.
You don't have to be wealthy to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be secure.
Right.
So what happens is if you take money that you can't give back, you've overextended. And we've all been there, like small businesses, everyone, you're at a point where you're always overextending. Essentially, you're taking money that you have to take.
Right.
And you're taking money that you need in order to pay your employees, to pay yourself, to make this a functioning company. That everyone's been in that spot. But when you have made it is when you can take the money and give it back, even after you've done the work, even after you've delivered the product. And then they have no power over you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And that's the top level. And once you get to there, and it's not a wealthy thing, it's not a rich thing, it's you're secure.
Right.
Like you're making enough money that you're secure.
Yeah.
And then once you hit that level, then you've actually made it.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, I have that written down even in my notes from your presentation about the position of FU. And I have written in my notes that it's not about wealth, it's about stability. And
that's right.
I thought that was really quite impactful for me. That really resonated.
And that isn't my quote. That comes from the movie The Gambler.
Oh.
A movie I've never seen.
The Gambler.
nor do I have any intention of seeing.
Like the Kenny Rogers movie?
No, it's actually Marky Mark. And but search the position of FU, and there's a clip from John Goodman, who's a tremendous actor.
Yeah.
And it's only about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's worth watching for sure.
Nice. All right. Well, I got to check that one out. Yeah, that's good stuff. So now what do you do? So you've sold your agency. And I know I'm going to, here's the softball I'm just going to lob out. I know that you're not completely removed from it, but there is something that's got to be in the back of your mind. Well, now what? Now you're about 2 months maybe or so into, the close of the deal, and you're further away from or pushing away from the transaction and the stipulations around it. You got to be thinking about, what's my next stage?
For me, nothing changes too much because most of my time was spent on my software and the community. So that's where my focus has been for some time, and that's where my focus will continue.
Now, let me interrupt just a second. So when you say the software, meaning Page Optimizer Pro, POP?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Right.
Just wanted to get that out there.
And we had a tremendous Black Friday, by the way.
Good for you.
What's stressful about running like a software company like that, or the community as well.
Yeah.
Is you probably make 25 to 30% of your income in the span of 2 weeks.
Yes.
And that is a little
Yes.
A little terrified.
Hey, believe me, in the first part of my career, I ran retail companies, and
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yes, and I met my wife at the last company that I was running, and it was like we were just dating, and Thanksgiving, the holiday season's rolling around. I'm like, listen, I am a crazy man for 6 weeks here. Just just know I'm going to be like really intense because of that Black Friday, this season period is so intense.
It's frightening.
Yes. Yeah.
It's actually frightening.
Yeah.
Things have been good though. We've had a pretty good Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that.
Yeah, I always look at we run. We have our own newsroom. We do our own press release distribution. We do that as a service. We ran a really great Black Friday sale. It's actually still I'll say it's still going on today, but not at the airing of this podcast. And I was just looking at the numbers at it actually early this morning, and what I was excited about was the increase of new customers buying the service versus, over last year's. And so, that's the growth that I was looking for, not necessarily the revenue, like how many sales did we do, but how many new customers did we attract, took advantage of it. Because in my mind, I look at that as being, well, that's my growth, people that I'm going to be able to tap onto in the coming months, year, as new clients that I can continue to build our client base with. And that's what gets me excited. That's why we run a Black Friday. It's like, I want to attract more people to the service.
Well, then you've already gotten past the cost of customer acquisition.
Yeah. And
then you can sell to the more. That's the most expensive part.
Yeah.
Is the amount of getting that customer in the door.
Right.
And then after that, from a psychological standpoint, from their standpoint, it's not how much will I give you, because they're already past that point. Or excuse me, will I give you or not give you money?
Right.
But it's how much will I give you?
Right.
And that's a whole other type of customer for them. So
yeah.
That's a good growth measure. There are a lot of levers you can pull when you're looking at how we can grow revenue and profit.
Yeah.
One is customer acquisition. The other is getting more out of your current customers. So if you can get them in the door, the cheapest customer you have is the one that's already your customer. And so good on you. Like if you had a great, if you're able to acquire new customers, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Because then they're yours. They're within your ecosystem and your environment, and then you can sell more to them.
Well, exactly, and that's exactly how I view. So when we're talking Black Friday, but that's exactly. I mean, we offered a great discount, but I looked at that discount as a cost of acquisition of new clients. I mean, we grew thus far. Exactly what it is. Thus far through yesterday, grew our new client base by 25%. And so I'm like, well, that's great.
That's excellent.
And it was, obviously a big discount, but there's two benefits to that. One, obviously new clients. And so we grew 25% with new clients, but then we're also rewarding. I look at it as well as a way to reward and secure our existing clients, because I'm like, hey, that's great. I'm going to take advantage of it. And so I'm like, absolutely do, because I know it embeds you further, in the love of what we do for you. So yeah, it's a great, I don't know, it's fun. It gets crazy, but we'll be digging out a Black Friday fulfillment for months. What did you do with your community, which I'm thinking you're saying community, which is a great, but is that the IMG? Is that what you're?
That's right. Yeah. Internet Marketing Gold.
Yeah.
Which is where my courses are. And we have about 40 other courses as well. Mainly SEO focused, but things that are not SEOs are kind of side focus for SEOs, like tools that they would want to add to their tool belt, but it is kind of an SEO focused course platform. And we test Google's algorithm as well. So you can read about my tests and other tests.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, I don't believe I got anything notice about a deal of IMG, nor did I get anything from Pop, but I'm already a client of Pop, so you obviously would not be sending me.
Well, we obviously don't want to tell you what the new deal is. You would be upset about what you're currently paying. Come on, man.
We laugh about that, but I had a number. I'm part of a lot of different groups, and we were just talking about that so many of these, and one particular tool, somebody had sent out the new client acquisition kind of landing page or offer to all of their existing clients, and people are all raging about, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny.
We ended up, I think only one person found our Black Friday deal versus what they were paying. And fortunately, the difference in price was honestly on a yearly subscription, it was like $12.
Oh,
And they were like all kinds of upset. And I was like, can I walk you $12? Can I walk it to your house? I will do that if that will end these emails right now.
jeez.
Like that's literally different. Like it was such a nominal difference between like what they were paying versus like what the deal was. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why are you be upset?
Yeah.
Be upset about this.
That is crazy. Yeah, Black Friday is fun. So IMG, yeah, I'm assuming you had a great deal going on there with that as well. So a lot of fun stuff. And that from your end, so I am curious. So you have with your software company, Page Optimizer Pro, does it matter to you from an operations standpoint? I wonder, if all of a sudden, during Black Friday, you attracted 200 new clients and users to the platform, is it your day-to-day operations aren't going to change, will it?
No, we're kind of in this zone where we have 4 different servers, essentially. That's an oversimplification, but that's kind of how it goes, like different processes to do different things within the tool. One scales as we add people. So if we add one more person, then that scales and we pay a little bit more. But the others, we're actually within this range where we could probably almost double our user base at this point and our costs wouldn't go up.
Nice.
Because like you pay for certain blocks of usage and whether you use like this much or that much doesn't matter. So long as you're within that block. Yeah. So for us, we were actually in a point where it's better for us at this point to do more client acquisition or user acquisition than try to get more money out of current users, because we pay nothing essentially for the next user.
Yeah.
It's all kind of baked into the price. So for us right now, we had a big meeting about this, but our push for 2023 will be user acquisition.
Right.
At any coin, because of it doesn't make any difference to us. Right.
Yeah,
it doesn't put any strain on the system.
Yeah, you've built an infrastructure that now it's got some elasticity to it, so that without cost essentially associated.
Yeah, exactly.
So, sure.
And so really now we're just trying to get people in, because that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get to the point where that is a problem and we can't do that anymore and we have to figure out other ways.
Yeah. Nice. Good for you. Well, good for you. All right. Oh, just along the same vein of conversation, I know one of the things that you had been involved with, and I don't know, you stepped away at some point, I don't know, in the last several months or maybe a year, was the SEO Fight Club, which was kind of that weekly, it was on YouTube, kind of a YouTube channel. It's still going on, Ted Gabaitis and Lee, which are still operate that thing. Very fun. We had Ted, we just did a show with Ted here not too long ago. You ever think about doing anything like that again? Maybe not SEO Fight Club or even SEO focused, but you ever think about doing like another, whether it's weekly or monthly or whatever schedule, but doing a Talks with Kyle kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, how much work this is. Like, the people listening do not.
Yeah.
Like the people listening do not know how much work you put in to put this show on. And putting on a show is a tremendous amount of work, and it is significantly easier to be the guest than to be the host. And I also don't know that your listeners know your level of professionalism, and the show that you produce is extremely well produced. I am on,
as I'm sitting in my pajamas, but yeah.
No, but I'm on like 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of these a month. Let's say a big month is close to 8. A shallow month would be 3. Yours is by far one of the best produced shows that I've been on.
Wow,
and I'm not just like kind. I'm not saying this to say it, because we're friends and I like you. But like seriously, like people don't understand your level of professionalism to do this, and that's the same level that I would want to put in. And quite honestly, I don't want to put that in. It is so much work to do what you are doing right now, like to have the preparation you have, the email sequence you have. You're herding cats, right. Like to get the speakers together and like to get something that's functional and sounds decent enough to produce. Like that is really hard to do, and I don't know that I want to do that, man.
I was just curious.
I would just rather be the guest and show up and quip and then run out of here and then let you do the editing.
Dude, I tell you, you should. You've got so much great things to say. People I think would listen in our world just around from a digital marketing standpoint. But I think you've got great insights just around business and approach and all of that. And
so much work. It's so much work. Don't make me do it, please.
All right. Well, there you
Please,
go.
God.
All right.
You know what? You have an assistant, right?
Oh yeah.
Your assistant's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I would need a really solid assistant to
well,
make
I've
that
got,
happen.
our team in doing the production of this, so I'm not alone in this. So, and really the crux of my involvement is really this, sitting down and having the conversation. This is the fun part for me. I love doing this part. But I have.
Yeah, this part's great.
Yeah.
This part's good.
Yeah. I have somebody on our team that does all the research on our guests. About a year ago or 2 years ago, we did all the automation and the email sequences. So we built all of that. But on an ongoing basis, I have somebody on my team that does all the research on the guests and pulls together kind of the package for me that says, and then like the day before we would have a guest, we sit down and we kind of like, here's Kyle, and this is what they did, and here's a great vein you could have a conversation with, and here's the seventh inning stretch question, and
for example, though, like this, there's no video, so people can't see this, but
right.
I can see the stack of notes that you have. People don't understand. If you hear any rustling, that is like like one of those like binders with like the giant rings in it. Like that's literally what this guy has. I have approximately 0 notes. This is significantly better for me.
That's because I can't remember
on your end where you have to be that prepared.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! Please no.
Yeah, and then as soon as I finish the record button, and then it goes off to our editor, and he slices it and makes it all sound nice, and gives us a finished product. And then
so much work.
And then the next guy, our editor, he loads it on all of the stuff and does the show notes, and so it is work. It's a teamwork though, but it is work.
Well, you do. So the thing is, like, honestly, like, because when you listen to your show, it just sounds like it just came together.
Yeah.
It just, we're rounding the bases. I'm Randy. Here we go. Like, it just sounds like it just flew together. Like, like that scene in Cinderella where like the mice and the birds are bringing everything together.
That's good. All right, Kyle. Well, here it is. We've almost put an hour in, and we're just getting to the seventh inning stretch. So here we go.
And it's time for the seventh inning stretch.
It's basically baseball now.
Baseball. It's baseball now. All right, because I know you like baseball, and
I'm nervous about this. By the way, you've been hyping this up. I'm really nervous. Whatever this is.
So here's I did have our team member here pull together the question for the seventh inning stretch, even though we're doing the random show here. And because you're in Chiang Mai, she thought a great question would be, foreign MLB players. So get you thinking about that.
I know like 2.
2.
I hope it's one of the 2 I know.
So I've got a few different I have a couple of different lead-up questions for you, right? So these are warm-up pitches for you. First international MLB player. Any idea? Either the player and or even just the year, the season.
An international? Like, so not from the United States?
First international, meaning that the player came internationally, not just from the U.S., playing in the MLB.
Oh, I would have no idea. Somebody from Mexico or the Canada didn't come down or something like that, like early on?
Close. Coming up from Latin America, Luis Miguel Castro played for the Philadelphia Athletics in 1902.
Oof.
Yes.
Long time ago.
Had a .245 batting average. There we go. I can
ain't bad.
I can tell you.
That'll keep you in the league.
Yeah,
that'll keep you in the league.
There you go. All right. So because you are in Chiang Mai, Thailand, there's been only one player in MLB with a connection to Thailand. Do you have any idea who that is? And a recent player.
There's no one that's Thai. Is there? They have some connection to Thailand, but
there's not a
Thai
true
players?
Thai national player. No, but there is only one player that has a direct connection to Thailand.
We didn't have any idea.
Oh, you're gonna love this guy. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And she did such a great job pulling this up. This is your man, Johnny Damon.
Oh, well, he's Korean.
His mother is Thai.
Oh, really?
Yes. How about that? Yeah, he was active till 2012. 2001, played for your Oakland A's.
Yeah.
And then he went on to Boston and helped and ushered in their
Oh, you know who's Korean is Heinz Ward.
Yeah.
in football.
Yeah, there you go. You're thinking
That's
football.
what
Yeah, wow.
yeah.
Johnny Damon. How about that? Okay, here's one more kind of warm-up pitch for you. Can you tell me the country with the most representative players? International country. Aside, not the U.S., obviously. So international country.
Oh, shot in the dark, Dominican Republic.
Bing, bing, bing. Woo, he gets ahead. Very good. Yeah, they got 169 players. Dominican
Which is like half the island, right?
Yeah, probably. Next is Venezuela and then Puerto Rico. Yes, so very good.
I would have gone, I was going between Puerto Rico and
yeah.
Dominican Republic. So,
all right,
not
so
bad. 1 out of 3.
There you go. Well, here's the big question. This is the real one here. This is it here. All right.
Okay.
What percentage of MLB players are actually foreign, non-U.S.?
Oh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go something like, I'm going to go with 20%.
Wow, not too bad, actually. It's a little, when I saw this number, I was a little surprised it was as high as it is. Total number of international players represents 28.2% of the total pool of 975.
Price is Right
players.
rules. I'm pretty close.
Yeah, not too bad. Very good. Not too bad. Yeah, 28%. Yeah, and then we rattled off the top 5. Number 1, obviously, being the U.S., oh, wait a second. That's kind of weird. Oh, I see. Cuba actually has well, that doesn't make sense. The percentages are off, but they're ranked. I don't even know why that is. Cuba has 32 players and Puerto Rico has 14. So I don't know why is Cuba at a different percentage. I don't know where this chart came from, but anyway, so there we go. All right. Well, let's
fire that assistant.
Yeah, no kidding. There we go. All right, let's get back into it.
Play ball.
So, Kyle, let's see. I got all kinds of stuff I wanted to hit you up about. AI, right? Artificial intelligence. In our world, it seems like every other day there is a AI content writing software tool that's introduced, the latest and the greatest and crazy. You, and we talked about Page Optimizer Pro, you've got, a nice piece of software that analyzes content and positions it for better ranking achievement or better visibility, we'll say, in searches from your website. Do you guys do? I haven't. Me personally, we use it as part of our process, but I'm a little downstream of the process or upstream, whatever direction. But I haven't been on your tool for a couple of months, maybe. Do you guys have some AI content creation?
Right now, no, we don't produce any AI, but that is looking like our Q2, Q3, where we will have a couple AI integrations.
Okay, so it's on the roadmap.
But
anyway.
if you like an unpopular opinion, AI isn't AI. AI content is not artificial intelligently created. It's simply spinners from 2012 that are just doing it slightly better. They're not creating any content. They're actually pulling from a corpus that already exists.
Right.
And they're just spinning it a little bit better than the stuff from 10 years ago.
Right. That's an interesting, I don't know that I completely agree with you. And I think probably in my mindset, I've known that, but I don't know that I've heard anybody actually say that out loud.
Well, here's the thing. Ask your AI tool, who won the Super Bowl in 2022?
Yeah.
And it'll give you a very confident answer that is incorrect because GTP3 only goes to about February, March of 2020 because it's not intelligent. It's not creating anything. It's simply spinning from the corpus that it already has. And it's doing an amazing job of it. I don't want to take that away. Like, it is unbelievable, but it is pulling from information that it already has. It's not creating anything. It's not reading the news.
Right.
No, it's not creating anything. It's simply spinning very well from the content that it already has.
Yes, of information that's already available, and it's just retooling it. Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything artificial intelligent about that whatsoever. But for marketing purposes, it was pretty cool to call it AI content, and everyone jumps on board, and we're and we're all happy about it. But it's not AI in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's not even machine learning.
Well, certainly it's not, and that is not AI in the realm that is being used in digital marketing anyway, for the purposes that all of these tools that are being created. What do you think about AI, though, in general, away from digital marketing? Because that's where I was going to begin with. I really wanted like, hey, you're a smart guy. I want to get your thoughts on AI the next few years. You know, we've got cars that are beginning to drive themselves, right? With AI, we've got all kinds of...
I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that. There are things that computers can make decisions on that are faster than we can do, and that's just how it is. And that's, you know, the reason that you and I are having this conversation over the internet is because of those processes that exist. The number one killer of teens is driving, because they are absolutely terrible at driving.
Yes.
And the only way they learn is by making mistakes. And that is a poor environment where to make mistakes and to learn. But when the computer makes a mistake, instantly everything updates,
Yes.
you know, and all the computers learned. So I am for that sort of application where we can have a smart system that is driving us around, because it'll simply be better than any decision that humans can make. But in the end, though, it still has to be programmed. There is nothing yet that has made the leap where it is making its own decisions and is actually processing anything outside of what it was programmed to do. If you read like Isaac Asimov, he has this leap where he gets to the positronic brain, and humans don't understand how that works. Essentially, they've created this thing, and then they don't even know how it gained its own intelligence. It just exists. And we're still at that point. It's kind of like, how would that happen? Like how would it make the leap from being programmed to now programming itself?
Right.
You know, or learning. And I think the thing he identified as the fundamental problem to these things is the fundamental problem that exists. It'll never go from something that is programmed to programming itself. It can do a reasonable job probably in anticipating things or being able to make calculations, but so long as it has the information existing already, such as the AI content spinners, it has to have that information existing already for it to be able to produce something. I think at least in the near future, they're all going to be exactly the same. So it'll look like artificial intelligence. It'll be quite good. And in certain situations, it'll be better than a human could do because it can process things faster. But I don't really anticipate being subservient to any AI superhuman or supercomputer overlords anytime soon. Like, they're not going to be taken over. I'm not concerned just yet.
Yeah, I'm too fiercely independent for that to take over my world directly. But
I am not concerned at all that like all of a sudden we're gonna have to answer to Meep Morp, the supercomputer, and it's gonna tell us what we need to do. I don't see that. I don't foresee that in my lifetime.
What do you think? There's so many uses, I'm sure, in the world today that I probably am completely unaware of. I'm only thinking like in the financial industry, I'm sure, certainly probably in the medical and health fields as well, that machine language or machine learning, AI is impacting or is working. What do you think? Any thoughts on what do you think a next iteration of potential AI influence in our world would be? You know, we talked about driving, obviously, and the benefits of that. Anything that you would think, I bet you this could be the next phase?
I'm really hoping, in addition to transportation, because I would really love a lot of transportation to be modernized in a sense where traffic would go away.
Yeah.
So if the cars are talking to each other, the reason we have traffic is because some Yahoo hit his brakes when he didn't need to.
Yes.
And the guy behind him was traveling too close because he's not a good driver. And then he hits his brakes a little bit harder, and they hit their brakes a little bit harder, and next thing we have traffic. Well, that goes away, you know, when we have computers driving. So I'm ready for that one. But medicine, that's the most obvious situation where you can have earlier cancer detection. They can see markers that humans would miss. They can see indicators. And then also like a machine that can go in and cut out the tumor a lot better than any human hand ever could. You know, like that kind of application I see in the very near future. And I see that as an exciting thing where you can actually you can get better healthcare. It'll be cheaper. It'll be faster. It'll be more effective.
Yeah.
And better than a human could do. But we would have to program that. That's the thing.
Right.
It would be programmed because we could say like, this is a better way to do it. We just simply can't do it ourselves with our own hands, but we can teach the machine how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's going to be like, oh, I know what cancer is. It's going to be like, oh, these are the things that I've identified and I can now identify.
Yeah.
It's not making any. It's the same thing with Google. You know, people think, we've talked about this before, Google can't read. But people think like Google is reading my page. We just say read because that's an easy term to say, but Google isn't reading anything. in terms of how you would read something or how I would read it. It's reading it in math, and we don't read in math.
Right.
At least I don't yet. Maybe you are the positronic brain and you read in math.
Not yet. Yeah.
But so people want to assign these things and it is phenomenal and crazy and unbelievable and powerful, but it's not human.
Right.
And so we can teach these things, I think, to do tasks and to do calculations and to do those types of things that are really great and will be great, but it's not anything human. So I think we'll be fine. I think we'll make it. I think life will come a little better. I have one last comment on that. Whenever you look at like sci-fi, I like to read sci-fi a lot, and I watch sci-fi movies, and it's always dystopian. It's always things went terribly, and I honestly think like things are going to be okay. Like it's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going to be a little bit better. It's going to be probably similar to what we have. We have crime, sure. We have poverty, sure.
Yeah.
And we have war, yeah. But like things will probably just get a little bit better. That's all I think. Like, I honestly think it'd be more brave to write a sci-fi story where things are just all right, like and we just moved on a little bit.
There's no drama in that though, right? There's no like, are they going to survive? I guess
that doesn't write books or sell movies. Yeah, it's always dystopian. But I just think it's going to be okay. Yeah. It's going to be all right. It's going to be what we got now, maybe a little bit better.
Yeah. Don't drink that water. It could be bad.
Right. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine. Your grandkids are going to be fine. We're all going to make it.
All right. Speaking of being fine, so just at any coming into the new year, right? Always on the mindset here. Any health or self-improvement kind of things that you're working on?
So there are a lot of hippies in Chiang Mai. There's no getting around.
Really? Seriously, that is something I never would have thought of. Really?
There's no getting around it. There are a lot of element pants going around, and
wow.
We have a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think they hide them in the closet when they're around other entrepreneurs. But, and I don't subscribe to a lot, but I will say that a vision board might be black magic. Like if you at the beginning of the year put a vision board onto like what you want to accomplish that year and you like put it out. So last year, my family and I, my wife, my son, we drew out some things that we wanted for the year.
Right.
And I can tell you of the 4 things that I put down, I hit 3 of them way out of the park, and the other one wasn't too far away. And so I really think the vision board might be black magic. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to put on this year, but I would say it is an exercise that's worth doing. And one big thing.
What does that look like?
That so I wanted.
You say an exercise worth doing. Because you've got me really intrigued. I'm like, really, what is that exercise?
Sure. So, well, one example was I put a number down that I wanted to sell my company for.
Right.
And we went way past that number.
Nice.
And at the time, the number was reaching, in terms of like what our current valuation was, where we thought things were going. That number was a little reaching, and we blew past that number. In a practical sense, I wanted restaurant level Thai.
Right.
So I wanted to study Thai, and I wanted to be able to go in a restaurant and be able to pretty much order anything and get around in a restaurant and do pretty good. And I did that. So my next year is I want pleasantry level Thai, or maybe like just above. So like when somebody asks like, where are you from? What do you do? I can do that now, but I want to be able to have a slightly better conversation. So for my son, who is 7, he wanted to run faster. So, we clocked it, all right, ready, run from here to there. And we timed it, and then he worked on his runs and he's running faster. Granted, he did grow a little bit, and maybe that contributed, but he hit the vision board.
It went from 6 to 7, so yeah, logical that he's
exactly.
Faster.
But those are things you can put down. But it was actually a lot of fun as a family to kind of talk about like, what do you want to do next year? Like, what are you thinking about, or what's going on, or what concerns do you have? And it's a safe way to kind of have a conversation with the people that you love and hear maybe what they're concerned about, or what they're thinking about, or how they would like to grow. And then once it goes on the vision board, and what we did, we didn't write it necessarily, but we drew it.
Well, that's what I was wondering. So the exercise, so I've, the stuff that you were mentioning, it's like, well, those are kind of the goals. I have goals like that, and I write them in a book kind of thing. But the concept of the vision board, I'm like, well, what is that exactly? Is it, so I'm thinking a very visual kind of reminder of these are the things that you want to hit, right? And it could be like, hey, we want to go to Chiang Mai, and I might have a picture of the Chiang Mai map on my vision board or something like
exactly
that.
Right. So some people actually like do like magazine type clippings or newspaper clippings, so you can actually like kind of cut it out and glue it on. We drew it, so like in that situation, you might draw an elephant, because the elephant is the symbol of Chiang Mai.
Yeah,
and I think like and you see it, like you kind of put it up and you're looking at it, right? And so I think even subconsciously you start making small decisions to kind of get to that big decision. It's something that's there, but then also gives you a level of accountability, because you can have a goal and it's your head and it's just in your head. And if you didn't hit it, you didn't hit it. But now you're kind of declaring it, at least to your immediate family.
right.
This is kind of what I want to do. And so like people will be like, hey, how's that going?
Yeah.
Are you making progress towards that, or what's yet, or do you need help, or can I support you in some way? So.
Now, do you keep this thing hung up in the kitchen, or, in some place in public visibility so that you see it every day and everybody sees it, or what?
Probably see it every day. I don't know that I'd put it in the kitchen, because maybe you don't want people coming over to see.
Yeah, I didn't know how visible this thing was, but yeah.
Because there might be something that's maybe kind of personal, and it's good to share with the family, but maybe not want to share it with everybody in the world. But yeah, put it in a place where the family can see it. And I highly recommend. So that's as hippie and woo woo as I get into.
That's good. I like that.
But I recommend.
That's good. I'm gonna explore the vision board. I love the idea.
I would do it right after Christmas. It's a fun after Christmas, but before New Year's type activity, when you're trying to kill some time. People have time off and all that. It'd be good. It's a family team building exercise.
Yeah.
At a minimum, it's just fun. It's fun.
I'm gonna throw that out. I'm gonna mention it to my wife and like, hey, Kyle threw something out, something for us to do when we're at your parents' house and we don't know what to do the day after.
And please keep in mind that this is not the kind of person that I am. I'm not like, you have to do. We're gonna declare it to the universe and it'll come back to us. It's not me. Yeah. But this is good. This is a good exercise.
If it gets me to Chiang Mai next year, then I'm gonna be like, vision board is black magic.
I swear, you put it on, you will be here. You will be here, November 2023.
Oh, yes. I've been focusing on sleep. I have had a number of conversations with different people, and I've done a little research and studying on my own, but really of trying to improve my sleep. Not just length of sleep, but really, and that really hasn't changed, but the quality of sleep and how to continue to improve the quality of sleep and the impact that it has then both just, as you live your day, your waking hours, that cognitive awareness and energy and all of that stuff. And so that's been something I've been focusing on really almost for the last 2 years almost, or 18 months at least. And I continue. We were I was in Dallas for a conference just a few weeks ago, and I was sitting and if you remember Brian Hong, do you know Brian?
Yeah, Brian's a good friend.
Yeah, so Brian and I were having lunch, and we were just talking about all of this stuff, and the sleep and how we live our lives and monitoring. Like we both have the Aura ring, and so we're talking about what we're monitoring and tracking and all of that stuff. And he hooked me onto a couple of things, like, oh, you should try this. This is my regime that we do at night. I'm like, wow. So I'm like continuing to try to expand my deep sleep mode when I'm sleeping. And I will tell you, he turned me on to one particular supplement that, you can order. I think I got my first dose of it off of Amazon, but then I just went directly to their website and ordered a subscription for it. But very, healthy, no big deal. But that one thing, like, instantly doubled my deep sleep mode at night. And I was completely shocked, because I've been trying a lot of other things. And Brian was like, no, you got to try some supplements. And it's not too crazy. It's not health risk, but it induces some brain activity that gets you into a deeper sleep.
I mean, that's literally all we do here in Chiang Mai. Everyone's got an Aura ring. Everyone's optimizing these types of things. I'm about to take some ashwagandha before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Like that's all. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, put it on the vision board. Sleep better. So it's like a picture. You have to draw yourself sleeping. Maybe you got your Aura ring and you get like chart on the deep sleep, it looks a little bit better, and put it on the board.
Yeah.
It'll happen. I promise.
It is amazing, the sleep thing, I tell you. Because Brian, I was stunned. Like, Brian, I don't know what your kind of measurement is, but Brian is like, hey, my deep sleep mode is about, length during the course of a night. And he and I sleep almost the exact same, are recorded like about 6 hours and 20 minutes is our sleep period at night. And I've probably have been on that mode for years, probably, but now over the last 2 years, I've been measuring it. But my deep sleep was, man, if I got like 30 minutes of deep sleep in that was like a big deal. And Brian's like, God, I get like an hour and 50, and sometimes I'm over 2 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, my mind was blown. How? And so this is where he triggered me. And now, ever since I just did this one thing with this one supplement, I'm getting like typically an hour and 5 minutes or more. And I'm like, anyway, so folks, if you're listening, like, really, you should dig into this sleep, because this thing is fascinating. I don't even know what stuff that you're taking. What is the stuff that you're taking?
Oh, I'm on all kinds of supplements, but the one, ashwagandha, that's the hot one at the moment.
Ashwagandha.
It's probably the number one export from Wakanda, but it's pretty good. I recommend. I get it in gummy form because I'm an infant and I won't take pills, but if I can like chew them like they're candy, then I'll take them.
I'm going to look that up and see if I can get it here in the States. I don't know. Who knows what you get over there in
Shanghai. Yeah, no, I think I've got like Goli or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
You can get it, no problem.
All right. So I promised I wanted to talk more. You gave this great presentation when we were together in Nashville, and you titled it, and even before I hit the record button, I wanted to make sure, I'm like, this is it, right? Because this is what I had written down. Make $11,000 more a year. And I thought, that is a great title. And it piqued my interest. As soon as I think you put it up on a PowerPoint on the screen. I'm like, what? Yeah, well, that seems doable. Everybody should be able to do that, right? So I'm going to just open the door, and you can just like Kyle at his best. Just let it roll.
Yeah. The goal of that title was a pattern interrupt more than anything. But I honestly think, like, you listen to gurus and they say like you can make $1 million next year, and nothing annoys me more than that. But what I really think you can do is you could make slightly less than $1,000 a month. Like, you can make a decision that'll make you slightly less than 1,000, and that turns into about 11,000 a year. And what I really think is that if you start to make those types of decisions and you start hitting that type of money, that they compound on each other. And then you go from like one decision that's making 11 to another one that's now you're at 22, and then you're at 33. And then in compounding those decisions, and you start making better decisions, like you start making decisions on things that lead to those small wins, that does turn into the $1 million. And so I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about before on like, why put that much pressure on yourself that you have to make $1 million? But it's a lot less pressure to try to make slightly less than $1,000 in a month. And, I think for most people, if you could make $3,000 more a month, $2,000 more a month, that's going to impact your life. Like that's your rent. That's all your bills. That's your food.
I love the idea, because it's this concept, really travels across any business, any niche, any model, right? Because if I was the guy up the street that owns the ice cream shop, I could be thinking, how could I make another $900 a month? Right. What would we do? How could we do that? That seems that's a very realistic kind of goal that you could like think about how to make that happen.
And probably not a lot of work, probably not anything where you have to make some drastic life change, business change. It's something that is probably within reach.
Yeah. Where
you could get it and do it. And once you get that success, that dopamine hit of, oh, I made this change, and you get that feedback. And then in addition to like the success, because the win, I mean, I think most people like us are competitive people, and we like the win. In addition to getting the win, you also got the money. Like you made this decision, it worked, and you got the cash. Then it encourages you to make a very similar decision, and you don't have to reach farther again. It's not reaching way out there. It's reaching within something that is right there where you can then make another $900 decision.
Right.
And then those things start to really compound on themselves, where you really then those small decisions, then you start to identify those situations like, or opportunities where like, oh, if I just tweak this or do that, then that's another $900.
Right.
And I think it really takes a lot of pressure off in terms of what you need to do
Right.
in business and in life. And then at the same time, I think it can turn into amazing benefits. And so that was kind of the point of that talk was these are things that I've done in my life, in my professional life that have made me a little more money, opportunities that have made me a little more money. At the same time, they've also made my life a little bit better where making decisions doing things that will benefit my business, but also benefit my life and where I can do something that is better for me or for my family or kind of a better life situation. So again, a lot of those $1 million decisions, a lot of those are tough to like, would you like to work 90 hours a week? You too can make them. Like that's not anything that I think is healthy. So decisions that are good for the bottom line, good for your business, good for your mental health, good for your family, those types of things. I think those are all very attainable. And shooting for those is better than trying to shoot for the $1 million. But in the end, you're going to get there. You're going to make that $1 million.
Yeah, it really kind of goes back to that whole idea about finding your passion, right? Or pursuing your passion and that pressure, like, well, I don't know what the heck my passion is. And it's the same thing. Like you got to come up with this, $1 million idea or $100,000 idea. How are you going to add $100,000 onto your business next year? And I'm like, well, wow.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Versus to say, well, let's pick it apart. Do $900 a month. How could you do that? And that seems very reasonable. And I love the idea of like, and then all of a sudden some of that stuff does begin to compound. And as you begin to build in that conversation as well, I have written in my notes and I'm trying to connect the dots with it. And it's like some insight into my brain here. I have just written down as a bullet point, make predictions. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
What did Kyle mean by that? Because I can't even figure it out of my notes. But
this actually made me a much better SEO, and you can take this into any industry, any business. But the concrete example I have is within SEO is that you launch a page, right? And most people launch a page targeting a particular keyword, and they cross their fingers and they hope, but what you really need to do is make a prediction as to how that page will perform. What will that page do? When will it rank for a keyword? How many keywords is it going to rank for? What kind of traffic is it going to get? What kind of impressions is it going to get? What kind of clicks? How many conversions? And try to start making predictions about how that will go. And your first ones are going to be completely in the dark. I don't know. How would I know? But that's the point. That's the point is to make those predictions, because then once you make those predictions, you start to understand how things work.
Right.
So that then you can start making business decisions like, well, we can do this page because we're likely to have this outcome. And then that's when you can start to make much better business decisions on what you should go after and what you should do. But that's when I really became, I think, an expert in SEO, is when I started making predictions, tracking them, and then making better decisions based on those outcomes. So same thing in anything in business, wherever you're doing, whatever is going on, is when you start a campaign, make a prediction as to how that campaign will perform. What will this campaign do? What kind of revenue is it going to bring in? What kind of profit is it going to bring in? What kind of client acquisition is it going to bring in? What kind of exposure? Whatever your KPIs are, make predictions on those KPIs as to what you're going to get out of it, and then see how it performed. And then you can decide, is that worth doing again? Do we need to tweak something? Do we need to abandon it entirely and try something else? But if you don't make those decisions, you're never going to become an expert, I don't think. And you're also not going to be able to continue to make good business decisions going forward. So making predictions is massive. I don't think that many people do it at all. I think they launch their email campaign or their Facebook campaign or whatever marketing campaign they've got going on. They just cross their fingers and pray to the marketing gods that they get something out of it. But which you should do. You should pray to any god you can to get the ROI. But you should also make the prediction.
Yeah.
You should make the prediction so that you can then make a better informed decision later on the next one you do.
Yeah, I think now with that insight, it is. I'm just thinking about, Black Friday, as you bring in the marketing kind of thing. We're like, well, I know we did this last year, and we seem to, based off of that history and off of that experiment, these are the things that seem to work a little bit better. So let's tweak that and let's begin to make some application. And can we predict then, based off of that, this is what we would hope to see. And then because of that, we should see another X or whatever. And so, real world for me, as I said, well, we had about a 25% growth in new just in new client acquisition just through our Black Friday. Well, in my mind, I already know what's a lifetime value of a client for us. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I know what that's going to mean for us for 2023 growth in revenue for us in that particular area of our business.
I would wager that 98% of people in business don't do that.
Oh,
and if they acquire that new client, they have no idea what their lifetime value is and what that might mean to their bottom line.
Yeah.
And then if you don't know what your lifetime value is, you don't know then how much you can spend to get that customer.
To get exactly right. To what that acquisition, actually what you can afford to spend.
You could have gained 25% new clients, but you could make yourself bankrupt.
Right.
If you spend too much money doing it.
Yes.
Oh my God, we picked up 25%. That's amazing. And we're out of business.
And we're going to have to close shop.
We're mortgaging the house now. But because people don't have those numbers. A friend of mine was talking about his wife's business, and she didn't have like a profit and loss sheet. And basically he was like, why don't you have this? And she was like, because I don't really want to know. It's like, that's a pretty fair answer, actually.
Well, that's honest, right? Yeah.
I don't really want to know if this is actually profitable. And that makes sense to me.
She's following her passion.
She's following her. I think a lot of people like that. They don't really want to know if their businesses are profitable or not, or like how profitable their businesses are. Right. They're paying the bills, they're getting by, but they don't really actually want to know what they're actually doing. Yeah. They're scared that they're actually not making any money. But then that goes out to like, once you get those numbers, you should obviously have those numbers, and then making predictions is massive. That'll take you to the next level. Yeah. Whatever you're doing.
I like that. Yeah, well, I'm making my prediction for my visit to Chiang Mai, so that I will be there.
It will happen.
It will happen. I'm putting it on my vision board. You better believe it. All right. Well, Kyle, I don't know. Is there anything that we've covered a ton of different topics? We learned about Johnny Damon's relatives and his connection to Ty.
Missed that one.
Hopefully you'll feel good, my A's, good. Anything that we didn't hit that you wanted to? I got one last question for you otherwise. So,
no, one small little thing in business is you see this with people trying to sell a business or maybe sell their website or something like that. And you see this pitch a lot where like, well, the things have flatlined, and they say like, oh, if you just put your vision on this, it'll certainly take off again. Nobody wants to buy your problems.
Right.
Nobody wants, nobody wants that. They don't want to be like, oh, they want something that's on the way up. And so it's critical if you're thinking about like, I would like to sell my business, I would like to have an exit. You really need to exit on the upswing. So you have to get your business to that. And then you have to have a vision for how this business will grow in the next year without you. We kind of talked about kind of pulling yourself out of certain important business functions, but it's extremely important that if you want to have an exit and you want to have the best exit you can, your company has to be on an upswing, and it has to be what appears to be a sustainable upswing with you not there. And so a lot of people think like, oh, I'm here and I want to sell, or I'm dipping, I'm flat and I want to sell, or I'm dipping and I want to sell. And you just give your vision and you'll clearly nobody wants that business. You will get the best multiples. You'll get the best amount of money when you get to the upswing. So when you're thinking about, I want to exit next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, it needs to be on that upswing. So whatever you can do to get to that upswing should be a big part of the process. And then you'll do very, very well.
Yeah. And just to tag onto that, and actually this is your idea, not mine, which is always keep the end in mind, right? Always keep that end goal. This is what we're striving for. This is the point.
For sure.
Yeah. That's good. Well, that was almost, I was going to ask you if you had any advice for the rookies in the game, but that's pretty much was a good one right there to end with. So that was terrific.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
That's it. That is the one. All right. Well, listen, Cal, so great to have you on the show again. And thanks for participating in the random show format. Always fun. Great to have guests from international come on board, even though you're American and boy from Oakland. But
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. And I wasn't kidding before. This is one of the best shows out there for sure. And I really appreciate being on it.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that. All right, folks, that is the ball game. And thanks for joining us today. And if you liked our show, please tell your friends, subscribe and review, and we'll see you around the ballpark. Running the Bases with Small Businesses is brought to you by 38 Digital Market, a digital marketing agency committed to client growth with lead generation, higher conversions, and increased sales. Connect with us today at 38digitalmarket.com.